there guys, gals, and non-binary pals, GM Potter here. Welcome to my channel where I talk about books and bookish things. I upload on Thursdays and most Tuesdays, and I have a nonfiction book for you today by one of my favorite fiction authors, and that is The Heroine's Journey by Gail Kerrigan. Let's get into it. Okay, so kicking off with the Goodreads blurb. This one says, tired of the hero's journey? Frustrated that funny, romantic, and comforting stories aren't taken seriously? Sad that the books and movies you love never seem to be critically acclaimed, even when they sell like crazy? The Heroine's Journey is here to help. Multiple New York Times best-selling author Gail Kerrigan presents a clear, concise analysis of the heroine's journey, how it differs from the hero's journey, and how you can use it to improve your writing and your life. In this book, you'll learn how to spot a heroine's journey in popular books, movies, and the world around you, the source of myths and basic characters, tropes, and archetypes of the narrative, a step-by-step breakdown on how to successfully write the journey. What do Agatha Christie, J.K. Rowling, and Nora Roberts all have in common? That they all write the heroine's journey. Read this book and learn all about it. From Harry Potter to Twilight, from Wonder Woman to Star Wars, you'll never look at pop culture the same way again. With a dozen New York Times and USA Today bestsellers and over millions of books in print, other popular genre author and former archaeologist Gail Kerrigan brings her cheeky comedic tone and over a decade of making her life as writing as a fiction author to this fascinating look at one of the most popular yet neglected narratives of all time. And it goes on from there. So talking about beta readers and awards and things. So I thought we would let the book speak for itself. So this one has, I read and I made notes, as you can see. So she has in here the hero's journey in one pithy sentence. Increasingly isolated protagonist stomps around prodding evil with pointy bits, eventually fatally prods baddie, gains glory and honor. But here's the heroine's journey in one pithy sentence. Increasingly networked protagonist strides around with good friends, prodding them and others on to victory together. What this book takes 210 pages to say is that the main difference between a hero's journey and a heroine's journey is not that one has a penis and one has a vagina. It's that the hero goes it alone. It's that scene that you see in movies over and over and over again ad nauseum. No, I've got to do this myself. No, I've got to do this alone. I have to do this alone. Like that bit, that tired trope that he gains glory for himself by himself. Whereas the heroine is your stories more like The Lord of the Rings, where like you're just like, okay, I'll go with you. Don't go where I can't follow. Like, let's get together. Let's all do this together. Even if you split the party, the One Ring wouldn't have been destroyed had Frodo not gone along with Sam and Smeagol. She talks about how, in one of the chapters, she talks about how sex and gender aren't the same thing, that sex is, gender and biological sex are not the same thing. She defines sex, or biological sex, refers to physiological categories that are not nominally defined men and women. These theoretically meet an objective or scientific criteria, such as skeletal structure or genetics. Vocabulary terms most anthropologists use when discussing biological sex are male and female, as opposed to gender. Whereas gender refers to cultural categories that are composed of socially constructed attributes, behaviors, roles, and activities. These are defined by what a given society considers appropriate for men and women, and in several cases, third genders. In other words, they are the social criteria. And she says she has a chapter that's titled, Read This Bit. It's super important. The heroine's journey is not simply the hero's journey undertaken by a woman. That part is very important. And she goes into talking about the difference between a point of view character and a main character. Citing, of course, you have the Sherlock Holmes books by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, that they're told from the point of view of Watson, but Watson is not the main character. In a more contemporary version of this, I would say Beautiful Creatures, the YA romance books. They're told from the boy's point of view, but they're telling the girl's story in the first book. There's several books and it changes who's the main character. Like it's almost like an everybody gets a turn kind of a thing. She defines plot and pace and beats, often called plot beats, and archetypes, and the difference between an archetype and a trope. In discussion, reviews, and critical analysis, archetypes are often conflated with tropes. I suggest thinking of archetypes as more singular and associated with one specific character. From a writer's perspective, archetypes are more likely to be plot devices presented in single moments of the story. For example, our main character meets a wise mentor, say Obi-Wan Kenobi. They impart knowledge and act in a parental role. They die, the story moves on. On the other hand, tropes are more likely to be supporting elements of a story arc tied to an overarching theme or world-building motif. As such, they will recur again and again. Innate specialness, hidden abilities, the Madonna and whore complex, Oedipus complex, magical boarding school, competitive love triangle, mysterious prophecy, or fated outcome. Those are tropes. Whereas the mentor or the ingenue are your archetypes. So she talks about narrative elements and theme and message, and how theme and message are similar, but they're not the same. So this far we've gotten, and we're still not fully to the hero's journey. So we have the hero's journey, beats, themes, and messages. So the hero's journey, broken down, our hero usually has a miraculous conception, semi-divine birth, or inherited specialness, called to adventure. The hero refuses the call. He receives aid from a mentor and or supernatural withdrawal, aka the quest. The hero abandons his community and begins his quest. He is tempted, distracted, and encounters many obstacles. He visits the underworld, can be thought of as a second withdrawal, can be metaphorical. He defeats his enemy one-on-one, that part is very important, and retrieves a boon, sometimes the same thing. Return, the hero is acknowledged for his success, presented with his reward, honored. The hero receives glory, but also isolation, aka pathos. So for this, we have a lot of times you see a repeated, in tales such as the Trials of Heracles, you have repeated withdrawal, that he comes back and he goes on his quest, and he comes back and he goes on another quest, comes back and goes on, that he keeps withdrawing. She actually makes a very interesting example out of the hero's journey, and that is the 2017 Wonder Woman movie. The Warner Brothers Wonder Woman movie, that it's not a heroine's journey, it's a hero's journey. That we have the call to adventure, we have the withdrawal, and we have the return. That feels like she's destined for something greater, but she doesn't want to go until our male main character appears and kind of pulls her along, and she goes along with it, and then she crosses no man's land and defeats Ares. Spoilers. She does all these things alone, and she can return to the Amazons, but she's not really one of them, and she can return to us mere mortals, but she's not really one of us either. That she's kind of both worlds, but of neither at the same time. It also cites A New Hope. Die Hard. Pretty much the entire James Bond franchise. The first Deadpool movie. She also talks about the hero's journey's hidden messages. That feminine characters, be they gods, foils, or love interests, thwart the hero via stagnation or distraction. That witches, when present symbolically or otherwise, usually represent chaotic forces of nature or civilizing forces of structure who are attempting to stop the hero with either naughty times, marriage, or death, sometimes all three. This is where you get your femme fatale side character, that she's here to distract the hero, that she's not really here to help him because she's just a dame. She's here to distract him. Important difference between the hero's journey and the heroine's journey is in the story beats. So for the heroine's journey, we have the descent, loss or separation, familial network is broken, pleas are ignored, resulting in the abdication of power, withdrawal is involuntary. This part is highly crucial, that she withdraws from her day-to-day life involuntarily, that she doesn't really have a choice. Family offers aid but no solution. The result is isolation and danger. The search, forced withdrawal on search for unity. Loss of family means risk, disguise, subversion, appeal to a surrogate family or network in an attempt to rebuild community, visit the underworld, Fenn's family render aid, the ascent or the return, negotiation for the reunification results in compromise benefiting all, and network is established or reestablished in altered form. Revenge is irrelevant, and glory is irrelevant. So, for the hero's journey, it's all about building that connection. For the hero's journey, it's all about going it alone and proving yourself, proving your mettle, that you are this big, grand force, He-Man. Whereas the heroine's journey, it's about asking for help, that's okay, that in the heroine's journey, you have stories such as Lord of the Rings, you have your Harry Potters, you have your Twilights, that are, I feel, much more relatable, because there are very few things that you have to go through alone, truly alone, that you can't appeal to someone to help you or to come with you or to guide you or for support. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but I'm saying it's very rare, and that the heroine's journey really should be respected more than it is, because it is so much more than just a gender-bent version of the hero story. And so many of our popular media, even going back to in a sense, creation myths. We have, in Greek mythology, we have Demeter, who you may or may not know is Persephone's mom, the one that is the reason we have the seasons, because her daughter was pulled down into the underworld by Hades, and she went out of her mind with grief and with sadness. She's in the original myth, she searches for Demeter, and she abdicates her role as one of the principal goddesses, and she refuses to let any harvest come through. So we've got famine, and the mortals have famine. How can they make their burnt offerings to the gods without something to offer? She goes and she finally takes pity on man and teaches him agriculture, that it's the establishment of civilization, where in the hero's journey, civilization is the thing that holds you back. Like, in some of the Rambo movies, he's like, oh, or the buddy cop movies, the dirty cop movies. They're like, oh, I can't do this, they're going to throw the book at me. That's civilizing force being a detriment. Whereas in the heroine's journey, civilizing force is a good thing. And they build her a temple, and she's given the seasons. And she gets her daughter back with the Zeus and Hermes basically make Hades give Persephone back, but he tricks her into eating the pomegranate seeds, so she has to keep going back. Pop culture redefinitions of this, that she wanted to go or she didn't want to go, or it's really actually romantic. But in the original myth, which sometimes has a horrifying name that I was not aware of until I read this book, it is Demeter's story, not Persephone's. And then we have the myth of Isis, also called the resurrection of Osiris, which is, so Set, the god of chaos, conspires to kill his brother Osiris, ruler of the gods, and ends up trapping Osiris's body in a tree, according to the Budge translation from 1960, with her husband/brother/lover, depending on the translation, familial network broken. Isis abdicates her goddess power and queenship. She disguises herself and manages to resurrect Osiris, or at least liberate his body. Unfortunately, she gets distracted. We aren't sure how. That part's been lost to the ages. And Set steals back Osiris's body, cutting him up into 14 or 26 in some variations pieces. And so she searches all over Egypt. She gets help from family members. Nephthys, Nephthys, Nephthys. I think you say that Nephthys. I have no idea. If you know how to say that one, please tell me in the comments. In particular, is devoted and adoring, and the heroine's journey that with camaraderie, with networking, with family, with found family, with friends, you can get it done. And I think that is such an important thing that really should get more. I think the heroine's journey really should get more credit than it does, because if you look at some of your favorite pieces of media, a lot of the ones that are fan loved but not critically adored are the heroine's journey. Like I said, your Harry Potters, your Twilights, your Lord of the Rings. Heck, Star Trek is very much the heroine's journey for a lot of it, especially in the movies, that they've got to do it together. Like, you have a couple hero's journey ones in there, that there's a hero sacrifice, and like there's a couple in there, but for the most part, the show, especially the later shows like TNG and Voyager, it's when the crew works together to do things, is your heroine's journey. And I wish more people knew about the heroine's journey instead of the hero's journey. I think it should be taught in writing classes right alongside it. Did you know about the heroine's journey, and that's a thing, that's actually a narrative structure right alongside the hero's journey? Is this something that's new to you? Have you taken any writing classes? Are there any books on writing and psychology that I should read next? I'd love to hear what you have to say. Tell me down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.